Hi-Fi Rush is the best Xbox first-party game, and I think it's the only Xbox first-party game that can rival what Nintendo and Sony do. It shadow dropped exactly a year ago, and in every single way, this game was a surprise. Firstly, it came out of nowhere. Secondly, it was developed by a studio that pretty much only makes horror games. And thirdly, it was actually very good. And last year, I loved what I played of it, but something came up and I fell off it, but I went back to it now, and I'm so glad I did. So I think we all know that Hi-Fi Rush is a spectacle fighter, but everything has to be done on the beat. And that's where I want to start, because this is where you can truly see the quality of this game. Every input from heavy and light attacks, jumps, dodges, absolutely everything has to be done on the beat too. First of all, a soundtrack that is just absolutely amazing, but it's how they ingrain the beat of the music into absolutely everything in this game that just makes it ooze quality. In Child's idle animation, he's there, he's clicking his fingers to the beat. If you look at a tree or a bush, they're like almost beaten to the beat. And then there's vents off in the distance that are blowing smoke off to the beat, and absolutely everything in the game is just there to serve the beat, and it's what makes the gameplay so satisfying. Because as a spectacle fighter, even if you remove the beat, I think this game would still be considered a really good game, but it's how the developers very clearly had one goal, where this game was going to surround the beat of the music, and they just ran with it and they executed it absolutely perfectly. I genuinely believe from that standpoint alone, this game like rivals what Nintendo does. Because when you look at a Nintendo game, they very clearly have one ambition. Mario Odyssey is like, okay, we are going to make this open platformer with the slickest character that you will ever control, and they did it. Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom was like, we are going to give you this sandbox, this physics sandbox that you can do whatever you like in, and you're going to love it, and I did. And it's here where they just said, look, we're going to give you a spectacle fighter, and it's going to be rhythm based, and you're going to love it. And that's exactly what happened to me. Because even outside of that, when you just examine the combat system by itself, you just have so much to do. As I always harp on, expression is what I want in games. I want to be able to express myself with the tools that the developers gave me. And here, not only do they give you an insane amount of combos, not only do they give you loads of side characters that give you different abilities, they also give you a pretty big pool of enemies, and these enemies force you to use all the tools at your disposal. I'll take it back to another DMC-like game, Final Fantasy 16, which gave you a load of tools and a flashy and fun combat system, but didn't force you to use them in any way. There was rarely an enemy that, oh, I need to use this attack, or I need to break a shield, or I need to do this. Here, it's like you have the basic grunts that you can use to keep your combo up, but then pretty much every single enemy that you meet serves a purpose. You meet the guys that have the blue shields that you have to use peppermint to get rid of their shield, but also there's like special combos you can do if you use one of your abilities, like the character abilities, on the beat at the end of a beat combo, and you're just constantly experimenting because it's, you know, it's a short game, but you're just given enough to keep everything fresh. When you introduce a new enemy or you introduce new combinations of enemies, then you really have to use your brain to figure out how to get around it. And it's almost like a little puzzle in and of itself to figure out, okay, well, if I'm fighting these three types of enemies, I need to go for this enemy first, and then I need to wait for this ability to charge, then I can attack the other enemy, and then I need to dodge. And it's just the fact that you have that visceral feeling of doing everything on a beat, that regardless of what you're doing, if you're platforming, if you're breaking barrels as you're exploring, it just feels better. Like, it's as simple as that. It just makes you feel the game better. The fact that you're like jumping on the beat, or you're dodging on the beat, or you're attacking on the beat. And it's just one of them game feels that you just have to have it in your hands. Like, I love this move to rhythm games where we're adding rhythm games into different genres, because if done well, which it has been done in like Cryptid and Necrodancer or BPM or Hi-Fi Rush, it just elevates the gameplay loop to another level. Now, when talking about just the overall quality of the game, I can see the inspiration from so many different games, but they just meld it all together to make just this extremely high quality package. As I said, this game is obviously very inspired by Devil May Cry. And the one thing I don't like about the Devil May Cry inspiration is that in this game and Devil May Cry, the jump is very vertical and not very horizontal. So there's not that much distance in the jump, so I don't really think it feels good. And I never think it really felt good in DMC, and I don't think it feels good here. But aside from that, you can see just so much inspiration. I think it has an Insomniac quality of sort of like whimsical characters that don't take the game too serious. And it has this whole corporate story of like taking down a big company, which is very Ratchet and Clank. And then you get into sort of like the mission briefings and how the characters interact with you, and that kind of feels a bit like Sly Cooper. And I think this game just has like a level of charm that I don't think many games have nowadays. Everything's almost too serious, and it kind of feels a bit like a PS2 era game. That's obviously where I can feel the Sucker Punch or Insomniac sort of comparisons that this game feels like it was made by them on the PS2, but brought it to a modern era, and there's very little like it on the market nowadays, and I think it's just special. And now we're at the stage where this game just gets even more interesting, because at the start of this month there was rumors that the game was going to come to PS5 or Switch. Now, these are always just rumors. Apparently it's been rated. Games have been rated and never come out, but I mean, to be honest, I think this game fits perfectly on the Switch. Firstly, it runs really well on the Steam Deck, so I should hope the Switch should be able to run it too. Plus, playing this game on an OLED, I wish I had a deck OLED, but I don't. But playing this game on like a Switch OLED would be brilliant. And Microsoft do have a relationship with Nintendo where certain games like Ori have come to the Switch. So, you know, it's not completely outside the realm of possibility. And I would just love to have this game on more platforms again. I don't like exclusives. I don't think anybody does. And anybody that sits there championing exclusives like, oh, we have this game, and you have this game, and this game's better than this. And I think you're just being kind of childish and stupid, to be honest, because at the end of the day, we just want to play games where we want to play them. And if this does come to Switch, and if it does also come to PlayStation, which is where I hope it comes, like, that'd be brilliant, because as much as I'm a bit weird when it comes to playing games on PC, I just don't feel as attached to them than when I do on a console. So even if it comes to Switch or PlayStation 5, one of them, I would just love to buy the game again. Basically, it's only €30. I'd like this game to succeed because I want more of this, like more of these sort of unique, smaller titles from first-party studios, because I think that's how you make a bit more of a sustainable industry. I mean, like, look what Insomniac are doing. Insomniac are making like 300 million games, or $300 million games, and then making like an interstitial title like Venom or like Spider-Man Miles Morales, which are going to be smaller, because it's not sustainable to make a €300 million game and then move on to a $500 million game, Spider-Man 3. But like, even if you look it up, like I looked up Hi-Fi Rush sales, and you don't know if this game is successful. So apparently it sold 2 million copies by March, or had 2 million players by March 2023, and by August 2023 had between 3 million players between purchased and Game Pass subscriptions. What does that mean? Is that successful? I don't know. And then all the articles are, Xbox reportedly isn't happy with Hi-Fi Rush's sales. And then the next article is, Hi-Fi Rush was a major success according to Xbox, both released within 3 days of each other. So what am I to believe? I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this game because it is very, very special, and I highly recommend anybody play it. It is on Game Pass, but it's also on Steam, where you can buy it to support the developers in a different way, and obviously own the games so that you can play it wherever you like. You can also play it on the Steam Deck, where this game runs perfectly, and this game is fantastic. And as I said at the start of the video, I think it rivals what Nintendo and Sony does in just overall. Like, if you look at a Last of Us game, or God of War, or Ghost of Tsushima, or Mario Odyssey, or Breath of the Wild, or any of these games, there's just a quality level that very few other studios can hit. And I'm not talking about like quality plus length of the game or quality plus scope. I'm just talking about what the developer set out to achieve, and did they achieve that? And did they exceed what you would like? Did they reach like a level that very few studios can get to? And I believe Hi-Fi Rush did exactly that, the same way Sony first party and Nintendo first party do, like pretty much every single time. And unfortunately, Xbox haven't really reached that yet. I'm hoping they do. I hope the next Halo is an absolute smash hit, and I'm hoping Fable is good. I'm hoping Avowed is good. I love Obsidian, so hopefully this was a sign for positivity for Xbox, and maybe we'll get some great games. So yes, thank you for watching. I'd love to know what you think of Hi-Fi Rush.